What happens when the dead refuse to rest? What happens when a voice that has been silenced forever decides to speak one last time? Our story begins in 2014 in a peaceful town near Abidjan, Ivory Coast. Here lived a man named Esme. Esme was a good man, a family man who loved his children and worked hard. But suddenly, a dark cloud fell over his life. Esme became very sick. He was constantly tired, his body felt heavy, and all his energy simply faded away. His worried family rushed him to the best hospitals. The doctors ran test after test, checking his blood and his heart. But the results always came back the same. There was nothing medically wrong with him. Yet, Esme was fading before their eyes. In September 2014, the unseen enemy won. Esme took his final breath and passed away. His family was left completely heartbroken, crying tears of deep sorrow and total confusion. How does a healthy man simply fade away? In the village, whispers began to spread. People started to believe that Esme was not killed by a disease, but by something dark and spiritual. They believed he was murdered by witchcraft. On the 20th of September, the village gathered to say their final goodbyes. A beautiful mass was held in the church. Tears flowed as the priest prayed for Esme's soul to find peace. When the service ended, 6 strong pallbearers lifted Esme's heavy wooden casket onto their shoulders. Their job was simple: carry their brother to the cemetery so he could finally rest in the earth. But as soon as they stepped out of the church doors, something impossible happened. The 6 men suddenly froze. Their bodies became stiff. The casket on their shoulders felt like it was made of solid iron. Then, in front of the shocked crowd, the men began to spin in a full circle. It was not a dance. The men looked terrified, sweating heavily, their feet dragging in the dirt. It looked as if they were no longer in control of their own bodies. An invisible force was pulling them. The casket was taking the lead. The dead man was refusing to go to the grave. The crowd followed in pure shock. This was the terrifying phenomenon known in Africa as the flying casket. It is a belief that a murdered person's spirit can take control of their coffin to hunt down their killers. The casket dragged the 6 men through the dusty streets. It moved with anger and purpose. Suddenly, it stopped in front of a house. The casket forcefully struck the doors and windows, banging loudly. The crowd gasped, but the shock quickly turned into total horror. The house the casket was attacking was Esme's own family home. The house where he grew up. The house that was now controlled by his own brother. Before the crowd could even process this betrayal, the casket pulled the men away again. It dragged them down the road and slammed into the house of an elderly woman in her 60s. The message to the village was loud and clear. Esme was saying, "These 2 people killed me." In a court of law, a wooden box cannot testify. A flying casket is not evidence. But to a grieving and angry village, it was all the proof they needed. The anger of the crowd boiled over. The sadness for Esme turned into blind rage. In a heartbreaking act of jungle justice, the village attacked Esme's brother and the elderly woman. Both of them lost their lives that day. What started as a mystery ended in an absolute tragedy. Instead of burying 1 man, the community now had 3 dead bodies. The police arrived too late, searching for those who took the law into their own hands. It was a dark reminder of how dangerous fear and unchecked anger can be. It destroyed a family completely. But Esme's story is not the only one. This deeply emotional and mysterious event happens in other parts of Africa too. In 2022, in the Luano district of Zambia, a 52-year-old woman named Maggie passed away under mysterious circumstances. On the day of her burial, the hearse carrying her body simply broke down. The family hired a second car. It broke down too. A third car was brought in, and it also failed. When the men finally tried to carry Maggie's casket by hand, the invisible force returned. The casket refused the path to the cemetery. Instead, it dragged the sweating, exhausted men straight to the home of her in-laws. For 4 agonizing days, Maggie's body refused to be moved from that house. Every time they tried to take her to the graveyard, the casket would not budge. Thankfully, this time, the police stepped in. They took the in-laws into protective custody, saving them from the angry crowd. They prevented another tragedy, even as the mystery remained unsolved. What is the truth behind the flying caskets? Skeptics and scientists will tell you that the pallbearers are acting out of deep grief. They say the men might be under the influence of collective hysteria or even hidden substances, moving the box themselves out of a subconscious desire to find a person to blame for their pain. But for the millions of people who have stood in the dust and watched a wooden box forcefully drag 6 strong men to a specific doorstep, the answer is very different. To them, it is the cry of a soul that has been wronged. It is the final tears of a spirit demanding justice before it says goodbye to this world. Whether it is human psychology or the power of the restless dead, one thing is certain. The pain of losing a loved one is a heavy burden to carry, and sometimes that weight is simply too heavy to bury in silence. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. What do you believe? Is it the living who cannot let go, or the dead seeking peace? Leave your thoughts below and hold your loved ones close.